So it's a Warlock versus Warlock matchup.
Yeah, you would think it's going to be a mirror match, but as we see those hands, it's the Reno Lock against the Zoolock. I'm not really sure who's going to be favored here. It really depends on the Reno Lock. The Zoolock is quite straightforward. It's like every turn they drop a bunch of minions and they try to kill the Reno Lock as fast as possible. But for the Reno Lock, they really need some key cards like the board clears with Hellfire or even Shadow Flame. But also the Reno Jackson is going to be really important.
Yeah, and normally we see the Demon Wrath also into the deck of the Reno Warlock, but that will not be as effective as it normally would against other classes than the Zoolock, because there are some demons like the Imp Gang Boss into the Zoolock configuration.
Yeah, there are sometimes you make that mistake, like, oh, they all have like 2 health, so let's play Demon Rat. Oh shit, they're all demons, no damage at all.
Yeah, so always to make sure that you keep everything going. So the whole hand of MaDe is being mulliganed away, and he draws into a Shadow Bolt, a Shadow Flame, and a Doomsayer. So a pretty good control-y opening hand. He has some removal cards right there, and we don't see a Crazed Alchemist into the hand of Fireflam, so he cannot remove that Doomsayer with 1 card.
Yeah, that's pretty huge for MaDe, because that Doomsayer is such a tempo swing. Normally, Zoo is really aggressive in the early game, and with only 1 Doomsayer, you can deny the turn 1, 2, and 3 from Fireflam, so that's pretty huge.
Yeah, and Fireflam is thinking a lot. He is known for roping a lot, so expect a lot of rope this evening in this match. Why do players rope? Because we know that Life Coach from Germany is also a player that likes to rope a lot. Why do players, even on turn 1, think so long?
Most of the time is it to make a game plan, to think what are you going to do the next 3-4 turns. So do I want to play the Dark Peddler on turn 1? Do I want to play the Night Juggler on turn 1? And what am I going to do the next 2-3 turns when he does? They are just making a game plan, but most players who play a lot of games normally already know what's going to happen in the first 2-3 turns, so it's more automatic. But some people will just want to think about it, and it's fine.
Yeah, because in the early turns you have more time, and maybe there you have the time that you don't have in turn 3, 4, 5, where you have to make the hard decisions, and then you can think about those decisions early on in the game and use that time in those early matches. But we see Fireflam not roping on turn 1 and 2, going on with the action and a tap of MaDe. He wants to draw into that Reno Jackson as soon as possible.
Yeah, do you play the Abusive Sergeant here just to contest something? But MaDe is also thinking, yeah, next turn is going to be turn 3, so probably the Imp Gang Boss is coming out, so Abusive is not strong. But he just decides to play the Abusive anyway.
So we see a new card in the hand of Fireflam. It's a Darkshire Councilman. It's a pretty strong card in the zoo because it's 2/5, and every time you play where's the 1/5?
It's a 1/5.
It's a 1/5, and every time you play a card, it gets buffed in the damage, and it gets 1 damage every minion you play, and it can add up pretty fast if you play a Zoolock, definitely with Forbidden Ritual.
Yeah, Forbidden Ritual after the Councilman is huge because it will buff it to 5/5. But this is one of those new cards people were complaining about pretty much in the early states of the standard mode. So this card can get out of hand really fast, especially with that Forbidden Ritual. But we will see what's going to happen here. Fireflam can do multiple things. You can decide for playing the Councilman. It contests the Abusive, and it also has a potential to be a big minion. But he can also decide just go for Imp Gang Boss here.
Yeah, he goes for Imp Gang Boss, slams it down onto the board, and now it's for a MaDe to make a choice. Could play the Dark Peddler and to use the Discover mechanic to choose a 1-mana card, or maybe decide to go for that Spellbreaker and make sure that no imps come from the boss.
Yeah, there are multiple things you can do here. You can go for the Spellbreaker. I think that's pretty good because it's the strongest minion. It contests the boards later in the game. But you can also decide for go Shadow Bolt and clear everything. But the problem with that plays is that you don't have anything afterwards.
Yeah, so if then a councilman comes down and he gets buffed because of the M-Gang boss, well, the M-Gang boss then is of course removed. But yeah, maybe you want to keep your Shadow Bolt for something else. So,
and he decides to go for Shift to Xeris. That's gonna be interesting.
Yeah, because every time that Shifter Xeris, it's a 1-mana card, turns into another card. So it could be useful, but you can wait as long as you want. And because MaDe is playing a Reno lock and wants to play a lot of turns, he has a lot of choices that the Shifter Zeus is gonna give him. So let's see what it turns into in the next turns.
Yeah, he can just wait every single turn till he gets something good. But now we're still on turn 4, and firevlam has a lot of options again. You can go for the Peddler, you can go for the Abusive Sergeant, you can go for Councilman, you can go for Forbidden. You can literally play everything what's in his hand. But Councilman is a pretty good one here, especially with the Forbidden Ritual pickup.
Yeah, so if he keeps the Councilman on the board, he can play Forbidden Ritual and get that damage pretty high. We see a Summoning Stone.
We see a Summoning Stone, yeah. But it doesn't do anything here, so...
No, but now he kept the Shadow Bolt, and right now he could use it to clear out that Councilman. It's one of the big threats right now on the board. You definitely don't want to play that Leroy Jenkins right now, because it will even buff up that Councilman further.
Yes. I think you just Shadow Bolt here and trade the Abusive into it and go for the Swampus to contest the M-Gang boss. Also, the Leroy Jenkins is pretty good to keep for later in the game. For turn 9 or something, you can go for Leroy Shadow Flame or something like that.
Yeah, just to get that board control back, because that is what the zoo is wanting to have. Just board control, fill up the board with more and more minions. And the only question is that firevlam has to answer for himself. How does he want to do that? Does he already want to play the Dark Iron Dwarf to and maybe an Abusive Sergeant to put more pressure onto the Warlock? Or does he want to save those cards and see the Reno Jackson first before he really starts to pressure?
No, I think you just pressure him a lot, because Reno Jackson heals you back to 30. But if you're facing a 7-minion board, you can heal back to 30, but you will get the damage the turn afterwards again. So it doesn't do anything. And also the Dark Iron Dwarf is 4 health, what's pretty important because it's out of the Hellfire range. And he goes for it. He's going for full damage here, dealing 7 damage, and also playing 2 extra minions with 6 damage total. And MaDe is in a pretty bad spot here.
Yeah, there's 9 damage on the board and even more coming up from the hand of firevlam, and there is no Reno Jackson, so he is probably looking for a taunt. He has the Defender of Argus in hand to help him save some life points, and like you said, he has a Shadow Flame, but how do you clear this board?
What you can do is like Blockmage Stallnose and then Shadow Flame for 2 damage. I'm not sure if it works. Does it die first before it goes off? Does the spell damage count?
I don't know.
I'm not even sure. I'm not sure.
I know that if you play how do you call it, the Wild Pyromancer and then Excavated Evil, it doesn't go off, the Wild Pyromancer. So
yeah.
But you have the spell damage on board, and then you play the Shadow Flame. So I believe that you get the spell damage
Yes.
on the spell, and then the minion dies. So
yeah. I think that's the play, because it clears 2 minions, and it gives you also an extra card. Because if you don't do anything here, it's pretty weak. But he's going for Sylvanas and prays for no power overwhelmings.
So
this is enough. He's 4 damage extra, 9 on the board.
He even has 6 damage extra, so a 9 on the board. He has no, he's one mana off lethal. So
so you go for Peddler for lethal into Soulfire or Power Overwhelming. You have 2 chances, and also Abusive Sergeant is winning you the game. So in Peddler you have 3 cards that are gonna win you the game. So I think that's the play here. Go for Peddler, see what you get here. If you get lethal, go for it, of course. And if you don't get it, you will get it eventually, maybe 1-2 turns later, because there's no Reno Jackson for mate.
Yeah, so we're definitely gonna see Peddler here being played by firevlam. And let's go into this cover. And there is indeed the Soulfire, and that is a lethal. But the question is, does firevlam see it?
I think he does.
He does. He goes for the phase of made, and he finishes up this first game with the Soulfire, and it is 1-0 for firevlam.
Really well played by firevlam. He had a lot of pressure in the early game, and made had always big minions in his hand, but he had no board clear, he had no early gaming. He had the Doomsayer though, but it was not enough for mate to slow down the Zoolock.
Alright, so firevlam won with his Warlock. So we crossed that one off, and we're just waiting for the next game. So as made, what's your choice? What do you want to bring to?
There's Temple Warrior and Shaman left for firevlam. I think the Paladin has the best chance of winning against both those decks. So I think you go ahead with that one, because Paladin is pretty bad against Zoo, and now that one is out. You can go for Paladin because it's favored against both of firevlam's decks.
So we're probably gonna see the Paladin from made, and then firevlam, he can go for most of the time an aggressive Shaman, but could also be a Totem Shaman. And I don't expect him to play Control Warrior, but maybe he does. I don't know. I hear the mulligan coming up, so we're gonna go into the next match between LLL.maDe and firevlam.
Yeah, and firevlam decides to pick Shaman here, and he's playing the face version, as we see with the Murloc and the burst cards with the Lightning Bolt and the Lava Burst. And there's the Tunnel Trog, one of the most important cards of the game, and we see by mate, we see the Reno Jackson.
Yeah, very important to pick that one up. Even also the Earthen Ring Farseer to keep that health total pretty high in the early stages of the game, and to make sure that he gets to that end of the game, because this is an aggressive deck from firevlam against a control deck. And what does happen between those archetypes is that when an aggressive deck doesn't finish off the game before turn 8, before turn 10, the favor is for the control deck. So firevlam has to end the game pretty soon, because otherwise the chances for LLL.maDe to win this game just get higher and higher.
Yeah, that's a good set. The longer this game takes, the better it gets for mate, and especially with that Reno Jackson in hand, it's gonna be really difficult for firevlam to burst him down that fast. But he gets the Hunter hero power, and that's actually pretty huge.
Yeah, he has 2 Tunnel Trogs in hand for the next turn, and then the Feral Spirit, so he has a pretty big damage turn, and yeah, that's probably gonna see 2 Tunnel Trogs. But what can mate do here to prevent all that damage coming in? How many times can you tap against a Shaman?
In the early stage of the game, you can tap 1 or 2 times, especially with the Reno Jackson in hand, and mates decide to go for the Stream Fury Protector, but it doesn't do anything because it cannot contest all those 3 health minions of firevlam.
Yeah, so yeah. Next turn he doesn't have anything, but what did he have for 3 mana cards? We don't know. We see definitely Reno Jackson in the hand of mate. It's very well being displayed on screen. He's hoovering his mouse over the cards, so he's telling us, people, relax. I have Reno Jackson. I got this, guys. No worries. So he feels pretty confident into Reno. He has nothing to play on turn 2. He can tap, but
yeah, he can definitely tap, and he has a turn 3 and 4, so it's not that bad. But if he sees the hand of firevlam, I think he's not going to be happy about it. And firevlam decides to play his Rock Biter to kill off the 2/3. I don't know why he would do this, because the Stream Fury Protector is not doing anything against all those 3 health minions. Maybe he was afraid of the Abusive Sergeant. He saw the Abusive Sergeant last game, so maybe he was afraid of that.
Yeah, and that was forced out by mate by playing that Sun Fury Protector. If he didn't play anything, just end turn, then definitely 2 Tunnel Trucks would have slammed on the board. Now we see a Feral Spirit and even the Flame-Wreathed Faceless in the hand. So a lot of damage, a lot of aggression, and it's up to MaDe to stop it all. So can he do it?
Yeah, and if it keeps going like this, MaDe is gonna be dead before turn 6, but firevlam has to make a really important decision here, because most of the times you would think, oh, I'm so far ahead, just smork him down till turn 6, but if you don't clear the Earthen Farseer, MaDe's Shadow Flame is gonna be huge next turn.
Yeah, he has to kill it, because otherwise there's gonna be a total board clear. But yeah, then you have to sacrifice 2 cards.
You can sacrifice your Tunnel Truck here. You have another one. You can just trade your Tunnel Truck into the Earthen Farseer, play your other Tunnel Truck, and oh, he's not playing it. He decides to go face, I guess.
He's gonna go for full aggression.
Yeah, that's gonna backfire now.
There is the Shadow Flame, but we're probably gonna see the Tunnel Truck and the Flame-Wreathed Faceless. Or are we gonna? Would you play that combination, because it buffs the Tunnel Truck into a 3/3, and you have a 3/3 and a 7/7 on the board on turn 5? Or do you go for the Doomhammer? I would play the Tunnel Truck and the Flame-Wreathed Faceless.
Yeah, you definitely go for the Tunnel Truck and the 7/7 guy, because the Warlock can only play the Siphon Soul on turn 6, and they don't have other ways of dealing with big minions like that. So, MaDe, as firevlam, you know MaDe doesn't have a proper way of dealing with that on turn 5. So, you want to put pressure on MaDe. Don't want him to play anything. And the Doomhammer, you can play it like every single turn. And you also know there can be an Ascetic Swampooze, what's in the hand of MaDe. So. It's pretty scary to play Doomhammer here.
Yeah, so we see the Tunnel Truck and the Faceless being played, and there's a lot of pressure on the board. But it's almost turn 6, and it seems like MaDe is gonna survive, and he even has a refreshment vendor to make sure that he gets to that turn 6. The question is he gonna play it?
Yeah, there's literally no other play than the refreshment vendor. You don't want to play your Im-Gang boss in Ascetic Swampooze, because you want to save that Swampooze for the Doomhammer for sure. You're never gonna play that till the Doomhammer is coming out.
So the question is, what does the refreshment vendor, what does he sell?
Carrots? Chicken? I think it's chicken.
Funnel cakes.
I have no clue what it's gonna be.
The Undercity Huckster, I believe he also says something about funnel cakes. So, oh, and we see the Wolf Rider in the hand of firevlam.
Wow, that's a card you normally don't see in a deck like this. But is it already enough? It's 13 damage. He's 7 off. And he has no space for playing the Doomhammer. He doesn't have enough mana. And there's the Flame Juggler. Flame Juggler hero power probably. Spam the face here.
Yeah, but this will be the turn that Reno Jackson comes to play. And yeah, of course, firevlam doesn't know that. But he's just going face, and he has the pressure on the board. So even if Reno comes slamming down on the board, heals the Warlock back up to full health, there is still the pressure on the board. The board is still in the hands of firevlam, and he can keep pushing that damage in.
Yeah, and that's the problem when you play in such an aggressive and greedy Shaman deck, that you're running out of cards pretty fast, because all your cards doesn't have any value. So you just spam all your minions, go face, and everything will be cleared pretty easy. And now he's running out of cards, and MaDe just resets the game with the Reno, and now he can town up, play his big guys, and firevlam is running out of cards. So we're gonna see who's gonna take away this game.
Yeah, he has a little bit of card draw, I believe, in his deck, but maybe he doesn't. He goes for the more aggressive style with the Wolf Rider, but the Ancestral Knowledge could draw some cards. If it is in his deck, I don't know. He's gonna go for the trade here with the Doom Hammer and a hero power to the face, and decides to not trade into that Reno Jackson. You already saw that Shadow Flame, so he is not afraid of that getting on the board. But there is a Twisting Nether.
Yeah, exactly. But the Twisting Nether can be played yet. It's one turn early for that, but You can just go for Swamp Ooze and Taunt up and protect yourself for another 7 damage and trade the Flame Juggler here. Fireflam has a really hard time now.
Yeah, it looks like MADE is stabilizing. Like we said, if you don't finish it up as the aggressive deck early in the game, then the control deck will take over. And I feel that that moment is right now. It's now the game to lose for MADE and the game to win for fireflam.
Yeah, and the Kodo is going to get some value too, because it's going to kill off the Abusive Sergeant later, I think. We're going to see what fireflam decides to do here. I think you just spam all your means here. Trade the 7/7 into the Reno. And what you also can do is buff the Wolf Rider, kill it, trade it into the Reno, because your Flame Red that faces will be 1 health healthier. And so now the Defender of Argus cannot trade into that. You can decide to go for Twisting Nether here. Fireflam is only 1 card in hand, and if you clear up everything here, it's okay to do, I guess.
Yeah, you just run the Defender of Argus into the face and then Twisted Nether. Not what I normally do on ladder. I play the Twisted Nether and then think, oh my god, I had to attack the face. And then you miss out on 2 damage eventually at the end of the game. So it's very important, sequencing.
It will always get punished. You will always be that 1 damage off lethal if you make a misplay like that.
But we see MADE thinking about putting the Dark Peddler onto the board and go for that Discover.
I think that's a little bit greedy, because if you don't get that Soulfire, Power Overwhelming, or Abusive Sergeant, or the Stone Tusk Boar, or the Elven Archer, there are 5 cards that could save him here, but you're getting 7 damage now for nothing. As you can see, there's no way you can deal with that 7/3 now.
No, we're probably gonna see the... Well, he can play Leroy.
Yeah, I don't really like this. I think it was a little bit too greedy.
Yeah, he still has a Twisting Nether for later on, because you know that another Faithless is eventually coming onto this board. And let's see what is gonna come next. Yeah, you can play your full hand, but that Tentacle of Nazad it's pretty annoying. It does 1 damage to everything. So maybe do Peddler, then the Tentacle, and make sure that the board is clear?
Yeah, the Tentacle is pretty strong, because it contests with the 1/1s. It contests probably also with the Abusive Sergeant later in the game. But Fireflam, that Murloc on turn 1 is going to help him a lot. That Hunter Hero power puts MADE on that clock, the Hunter clock. Also, there are 2 Lava Bursts and 2 Lightning Bolts in the deck of Fireflam there, so there is a little chance that Fireflam can sneak the win here with doing a little bit of damage every single turn and take the game from that.
Yeah, he just needs enough time and enough damage from his top decks. And let me see how many cards are in his hand. He has 18 cards left and 17 left in the deck of the Warlock. And there comes the Totem Golem slammed onto the board and a Spellbreaker. So pretty rough for MADE, because he doesn't want to tap. He cannot Kodo, and he cannot make sure that that 3 damage is not hitting his face unless he plays Twisting Nether. But you don't want to play Twisting Nether on a one Golem, right?
No, you definitely don't want to play Twisting Nether, because you cannot keep defending yourself because you're on that clock. You have to do something yourself too. You have to kill the Shaman before you die yourself. So if you keep clearing everything, you get every turn 2 damage. So eventually you will lose anyway. So I think you just go for Sylvanas here, play the Imgang boss, put some pressure on the board, and yeah, go do some damage yourself.
Right, so we see Sylvanas, like you said, and the Imgang boss. And let's see what top deck comes down there for Fireflam. He gets a Feral Spirit.
Feral Spirit's pretty good. But MADE's taking 7 damage again this turn. And he's on a 3-turn clock now. 3 turns. Then he's dead.
We see the Feral Spirits, and we see in no way for the Sylvanas to trade into that one. So it could be a Twisting Nether turn, or it could be the Spellbreaker. And then hope for the Kodo.
You don't even have to because you picked up the town, the Senjin Shield Master. You don't have to Twisting Nether anymore, so you can just clear everything. Oh no, you can't. The Kodo didn't hit the Feral Spirits, and that's actually pretty good for firevlam.
Yeah, that's the only target that the Kodo shouldn't have hit, but does hit. And then there is the Lightning Bolt, and there is enough damage. Yeah, 1 damage off. We have seen the Earthring Farseer, we have seen the Refreshment Vendor, and we have seen the Reno Jackson. So
Silent Soul is the only heal left in the deck of MaDe. So if firevlam is smart, maybe, no, then he has to Silent Soul. He can still Silent Soul his own minion. He's going for the trade. And it's really important to put him on 1 HP because you don't want to save that.
Oh! What a top deck.
Wow. That was a mistake. A little bit of BM by MaDe, but what a top deck by MaDe. That was...
We forgot about the best healing in the deck of the Warlock, and that is Lord Jiraxis himself. Because with that hero power and with that weapon, and he has the board control. That's insane. He's gonna, his hero power is a 6/6 on the board every turn, and it was the moment to draw Jiraxis, and he did. So wow, what a top deck for MaDe.
MaDe must be so happy now. He was like, oh no, I'm losing to Shaman. No, I'm losing to the full aggro Shaman, even with the Reno Jackson. And then the Jiraxis came out of the deck. Oh Lord Jiraxis, what are you doing here?
So do you trade? Yeah, you probably...
And what you can do is just go face. Twisting Nether and hero power. And put him on lethal range. But this is also fine. It doesn't really matter from this point. There's nothing firevlam can draw to win this game. They can go for like Ancestral Knowledge into double Lava Burst. Into... Yeah, that's the way to win.
Ancestral Knowledge? Squire. The Squire is not the card that he was looking for. So this match turns up into a 1-1, and MaDe is on the board.
Yeah, that was amazing. MaDe must be really happy now, and now he has still some pretty decent matchups against his Paladin is pretty good against both Shaman and the Warrior. So, but he can only win once with that. So we will see what's gonna happen now. Paladin is probably gonna win against both decks, and then the mid-range Shaman has to finish it off. We will see what's gonna happen.
Right, and while we wait for the next game to start, it's yeah, it's a Shaman can do it again. We can see we're gonna see another Shaman game. Shaman. It's just how you want to pronounce it, because there are still two in the deck, and I don't know. I don't know if MaDe is playing the more aggressive one. It could be how do you say?
Yeah, I'm really curious about the Shaman mirror, because we know MaDe is playing a little bit of a mid-range Shaman with the big totem guy, the things from below, but he's also playing the double Lightning Storm and the Fire Elemental. So that's that are some pretty important cards in this matchup, because it can tempo swing pretty hard against the face Shaman.
And it's all about starting hand. If the aggressive Shaman gets a pretty good starting hand, he can get out of he can take away the game in the early stages, and there's nothing you can do. So it's also a little bit of luck of the draw.
Yeah, the Shaman mirror normally gets decided by the early game. It's also always like, who can keep his early minions? Who has the first Feral Spirits? Who has the Tunnel Trog Totem Golem? If you miss one of those cards and the opponent have all three of them, the Tunnel Trog Totem Golem, Feral Spirits, you're probably gonna lose, because you're already so far behind in the early game. You cannot come back from that.
Alright, the players are ready, and we're gonna head into the mulligan of the third game of this match. It's gonna be the Paladin of MaDe versus the Warrior, the Temple Warrior of firevlam, but I also see an Arcanite Reaper.
Yeah, we see a really greedy Temple Warrior by firevlam. We see the Korkron Elite and the Arcanite Reaper, so he was thinking, maybe I face a lot of control decks, things like the Paladin and MaDe is bringing here, so I have to finish them fast before he's gonna heal up.
Alright, so we see the True Silver Champion, the Consecration, and the Stampeding Kodo into the opening hand of MaDe, but firevlam has still to decide what he wants to keep. Do you throw away your whole hand, or do you keep the Blood of Brave? No, he throws away everything. And the Kodo versus the Blood of Brave, it's a battle we're gonna see probably more tonight. It's a really good counter if that Blood of Brave doesn't get activated. But it's a better hand for firevlam after the mulligan.
Yeah, exactly. He has the 2, 3, and 4 drop already, and he can pressure mate really, really hard because mate only can play minion or play a card on turn 4 with this hand. So the first 3 turns is nothing for mate. But the Kodo is huge against the Blood of Brave, but firevlam doesn't have it. So.
Right. Probably see just a pass. Yeah, it's the turn of mate, and he draws an Acidic Swamp Ooze. It's a pretty big card, but he probably doesn't know that there's an Arcanite Reaper in there. You don't play a Gorehowl, so he probably plays it. Is there a Melkorok in the deck? I don't know. Could be.
I didn't check the deck list for that, but most of the times you see. But firevlam is also playing the Arcanite Reaper and stuff, so I don't think Melkorok is really fitting into this deck because it's a 7 drop. So normally, if you have the Arcanite Reaper up, you don't want to play Melkorok after that. Also with the double Arati Weaponsmith, you have so many weapons. I don't think Melkorok is in this deck.
No, I don't believe either, but I was just asking you to make sure that I was not messing up anything here. So he could equip the Fury War Axe, but he doesn't do that, of course, being afraid of that Acidic Swamp Ooze in the hand of maybe mate. He doesn't know it, but he doesn't want to risk it. You want to equip that Fury War Axe when there's a target to hit. And now it's the question for mate, does he want to use his hero power or not? Because if you use it and the warrior hits or damages himself, then the whole the battle rage and gets another tick, gets another draw.
Yeah, firevlam gets rewarded here for not playing the War Axe on turn 2, because otherwise mate would never have played the Acolyte, and now firevlam can make a good trade on the Acolyte, denies the card draw for mate, and then he can go for the face damage with the double Corkroll in hand. And mate doesn't have a proper way of dealing with all those aggression. He has the Ragnaros Lightlord to heal back up, but that's only on turn 8.
Yeah, so probably gonna see the Fury War Axe. You definitely don't want to play the Ravaging Ghoul and give an extra card to this Paladin to draw in even more healing. But yeah, the Fury War Axe is a pretty safe pick, and Whirlwind and Execute would be a bit too much. But no, he goes for the coin and the Corcoran Elite for the trade to just get something on the board and put some pressure to mate, who draws into a second Kodo.
A second Kodo. I don't know why firevlam would go for the Corcoran Elite here instead of the War Axe, because you know on turn 4 the True Silver is coming out, so your Corcoran is gonna die to that so easy. And if you go for War Axe and mate is sitting there with the True Silver, it's so awkward for mate to play the True Silver on an empty board.
Yeah, it definitely is. But now he gets a target. He gets a Corcoran Elite to devour, and it's next turn. It's probably going to be another Corcoran.
Yeah, but that's the awkward thing now. Do you want to play your second Corcoran into the True Silver on board? Because if you had the War Axe, and there's also no way you're going to play the War Axe anymore this game. You're not going to get any value against Paladin. No. Because Paladin is literally playing nothing from 3 health or lower.
No, you don't want to play your Armorsmith into that True Silver Champion, because that will also get removed for free, and yeah, it's just 1 damage for the Paladin, and then he gets 2 cards for 1 card for the True Silver Champion. And if he equips that Fury War Axe, it will get a Acidic Swamp Ooze. Like mate is telegraphing to us, he is hoovering over his cards, and that's why they come up into our faces onto the screen. And there's the Doomsayer.
Yeah, there's the Doomsayer. This is a pretty awkward turn for me, because you really want to Stampede in Kodo that Armorsmith, but you also want to Acidic Swamp Ooze the weapon. But he decides to go for Kodo, and I think why he does that is the War Axe is not contesting the Kodo anyway, so he has to waste another card like Slam or maybe a double Whirlwind effect. I don't know.
Yeah, in the trading wars, mate is doing pretty good. he is trading pretty well, and the Tempo Warrior is not getting any tempo at all. So he's not getting onto that board. He's not putting any pressure on that Paladin, and Mate is leaning back, and it's just in a very good position right now.
Yeah, and if Fireflam plays the Acolyte here to get some more card drawing, it's going to be really devastating if he sees the second Stampeding Kodo from the hand by Mate.
What now?
And what we said before, like, if he could play the Warax on turn 2, he could have value out of that card. But now it's sitting there and it's doing nothing. And the Korkons were both traded by the True Silver there. Oh wow, and there's the Acolyte. Kodo, do your job.
Yeah, there's a second Kodo in the hand of Mate, and he is gonna clear that Acolyte, making sure that there is no draw for the Warrior, and he gets even further behind, and that shows you the power of that Stampeding Kodo and why it is so strong in the meta right now. But he might be trading his other Kodo, so there's another draw. He doesn't want to play that, he just wants to draw with the Solemn Vigil, it seems, and draws into the Forbidden Healing.
Yeah, do you go for Doomsayer here, or do you go for Swampus? I think he's want to save the Swampus for another weapon, maybe a bigger one.
Yeah, you also see the Ariati Weaponsmith over there in the hand of Fireflam that also gives you a weapon. So there might be even 5 weapons into the deck of Fireflam. So a lot of weapons to remove for that Acidic Swamp Ooze, but Mate only has 1, so it has to deal with, let's say, 4.5 weapon.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but Mate can also think that, oh, it's a Temple Warrior, and they almost play Malkorok, so maybe I'm gonna save the Ascetic Swampus for the Malkorok. But there's no Malkorok in Fireflam's deck, so if he's gonna see the Arcanite Reaper, Mate is gonna be really happy if he still has that Swampus in hand.
Yeah, he is, but looking at the hand of Fireflam, what are his choices? He has the Cairn, he can probably play, but he doesn't want to play that into the Doomsayer. He can play the Corcoran Elite and use his Fury War Axe to remove that Doom card. What do you do? Else, do you just armor up?
Yeah, it's so awkward to do. Wow, he's gonna execute the Doomsayer, and I think it's not that bad of a play. You cannot lose all that tempo against the Enzold Paladin, because late game you're definitely gonna lose against Paladin, because when it's turned 20 or 21, something like that, and you already played your big death rattles like Tyrion Forger, Cairn Blood, or Sylvanas, and you played at Enzold, Temple Warrior doesn't play Brawl, so they don't have a way of dealing with that. So you have to finish the game before that happens. And
yeah,
another Kodo there.
Yeah, the other Kodo, and of course a true Silver Champion that is still in the hands of the Paladin to remove that Ravaging Ghoul. And we see here the Acidic Swamp Ooze, and the Warrior had a little bit of tempo, but now it's totally gone with Mate slamming these 2 cards on the board.
Yeah, and now the Swampus was really strong. He has still 2 mana left after the Stampeding Kodo, so he perfectly uses his mana there, and he made a huge tempo swing on the board. But Fireflam, he doesn't have a proper way of doing so. He can just play 1 minion, and that's the only thing he can. But I think just play Cairn, it's your strongest minion there. It's pretty sticky, can contest most of the minions on the board, so...
You could also go for the Ariati Weaponsmith, get the 2/2 weapon and remove the Acidic Swamp Ooze.
Yeah, then you can play the monkey behind it. Yeah, that's actually also a pretty good play.
And then enchant up and make sure that it's going to be an awkward trade between the Kodo and the monkey, because you cannot remove it. Yeah, we see the Ariati Weaponsmith being played, the 2/2 weapon you receive from that Weaponsmith, and Acidic Swamp Ooze gets deleted from the board.
Is he going for equality here? I don't think you equality this board. It's too short. You know there are some big threats in the deck of Temple Warrior, things like Varian, Ragnaros, Gromage. So I think you want to save your equality for cards like that. Maybe you just play your Ragnaros the Light Lord. You already saw 1 execute, so the chance he has another one. It's pretty small. You can just trade into the monkey, play Rag, hope it will heal your Kodo.
It would be awesome to see a Rag versus Rag, but we see the Wild Pyromancer hovering over the board, and the Wild Pyromancing with the equality clears up the total board. You have also, of course, the Consecration and equality. as a clear, but with the Wild Pyromancer it only costs 4 mana. You have 4 mana to spend, so that's the question. What is MaDe gonna do? Is he gonna make is he gonna do the board clear?
Yeah, he's gonna play Consecration, because Consecration is 3 damage now instead of 2, because you could also gain 1 damage from the Pyro. Now it's a board clear, so it's not that bad of a play. MaDe is hoping for a Noble Whirlwind effect now. He already saw the Ghoul though, so there's a small chance he has it. I know he just slammed the rack.
Slam the rack, remove 1 of the minions on the board, I guess. And you want to remove that Wild Pyromancer because you're afraid of equality. So if you... No, he slams down the Cairn, hits the Wild Pyromancer with his weapon, and then armors up. You don't want to keep that Wild Pyromancer on the board, because if that equality of the Paladin hits, then you again lose a minion, and there's even a second equality. Wow. So maybe now it's time for that rag.
Yeah, you don't have another play. All your cards in your hand are pretty reactive, and you don't want to react. You want to make a play yourself. You're not trading into the Cairn. It doesn't make sense at all. So you just go face. And I think MaDe is hoping that the Wreck will heal the Kodo, so it will survive against the Cairn. Ooh, and it happens. So that's pretty good.
Yeah, that was the best heal he could get.
Oh, and there's the Ravaging Ghoul 1 turn late. Last turn he could kill everything, right, with the Ghoul?
Yeah, he could have removed everything. So now the question is, what do you want to do? Do you want to remove that 1/1, play the rag, and hope for the best that it removes the other rag? Because otherwise, the Ragnaros Lightlord will probably trade into the other one, into the Fire Lord.
Yeah, I think you just go for Fire Lord here and go for the 1 in 3. I don't think you have another player. Just trade the 1/1 away and slam the rack. You have a 1 in 3 chance you hit the Light Lord, and otherwise you hit the Kodo, and then Light Lord will trade into the rack himself. So I think that's the best player. You don't have another choice. But he decides differently. Yeah, he could go for Ghoul and then trade Cairn and Korkon into the Light Lord.
Yeah, it gives him a better board position. I think this is a pretty good play.
Yeah, actually it is. Ooh, and there's the Enzal, but there are not a lot of Death Rattles played yet. But what is played? Let me check.
No,
actually nothing. He's getting nothing from Enzal.
No, he hasn't played any Cairn. He hasn't played a Sylvanas or anything else. He does have that Forbidden Healing, so he's far from dying. But we see 2 pretty strong cards in the hand of Fireflam. There's this Doomguard. You don't want to play anything into that one, so this board is probably gonna get removed. It's probably gonna be just tab and the game. Or do you want to run your Hellscream, your Gromage into the Doomguard with the Cairn?
Yeah, the problem, it looks pretty good though. It gives you a lot of board pressure, but you also know that Paladin runs double equality and a lot of cards like Elder Peacekeeper, Humilities, things like that. So if you do that and you get equality and your board get removed, you literally lost your win condition. So that's not really what you want to do, because you only has Rag left as a threat.
Well, we see that he is hovering over that Gromage. He's thinking about the play. He's thinking about running that Gromage into the Doomster. He doesn't want to lose his Bane, because it's not Cairn, but it's Bane, Bloodhoof, his brother, who looks a little bit more aggressive. And yeah, he's gonna trade that Gromage into that Doomsayer, and let's hope for him that there's not gonna be a Consecration or a Wild Pyromancer. There's 2 cards left in the deck, and he doesn't draw 1 to remove the whole board. He draws into Forbidden Healing.
He can just trade his minions into the minions. So he plays equality, trades the 1/1 and the 3/1 into the minions of Fireflam, and makes a new one. Yeah, and now it's gonna be really awkward.
Yeah, what we see there, a great top deck for Fireflam. He draws into the Fury War Axe, so he can remove the 1/1 Silverhand Recruit, making sure that the Rag will survive when an equality is gonna come down onto the board, because otherwise there could have been a second equality and the removal of the Rag pretty easily. We see Humility. So is it gonna be the... he doesn't have a way to remove the rag.
No, but Humility is not doing anything either. So I think you just hero power, maybe even play the heal on yourself and pass the turn. You just have to wait till he draws something like a minion. You need your big threats, the Sylvanas, the Tyrion, the Cairn. That are the cards you're looking for. But maybe he's just drawing his reactive cards, the healings, the humilities, the equality, and the Enzot is pretty dead in his hand because he didn't draw any Death Rattle cards so far.
Yeah, and if you just wait and do nothing, you're gonna get hit in the face by 8 damage, but he's gonna go for that one minion, that one Sylvan Recruit and Forbidden Healing, so he heals up to 30 health and looks pretty good to me.
Yeah, it definitely looks good for Fireflam now. You can go for Throttling Berserker, slam into the Silverhand recruit. You can maybe even slam the Rag.
Yeah, you could slam your own Rag and play the Throttling before, so that it gets buffed up further. But we see that Elder Peacekeeper and that Humility in the hand of MaDe, so he has the answers for that. He has the answers for that damage that can come out. But you probably slam your own Rag to do that card draw and see what the next card is going to be.
Yeah, you have to cycle that slam. Your hand is pretty bad, so you have to cycle.
And you do have a second Throttling Berserker, but he chooses not to slam. He chooses just to armor up and make sure that the Rag hits the board. And there is a Tyrion 4th ring and a target for the Nazad, the Corruptor.
Yeah, and that was the card MaDe was looking for, because now there are 2 minions on the board. Fireflam has no way of dealing with this, and even if he removes it, it will come back the next turn with the Enzot.
He has the Battle Rage, and with the Slam he can damage his minions a little bit to make sure that he draws into 2 cards, but you probably want to use that Slam on Tyrion to make sure that the Divine Shield gets removed.
But what if you slammed last turn on your own Rag? Then you could have Battle Rage for 2, because the Battle Rage was your next card, and then you had like a full hand, and you had some more options than now. But now you have to slam the Divine Shield. You cannot slam your own Rag anymore, you have to slam the Divine Shield to draw a card.
Alright, let's see what Fireflam decides to do. He needs to use that Slam. He uses it on his Frothing, keeping his Rag very healthy. Draws into a fierce monkey, and then we draw 2 another cards, another Battle Rage.
Wow, and another Slam and another Battle Rage. That's such a card draw for Fireflam, and that's a good sequencing of cards here. Wow, that's some huge pickups for Fireflam.
Yeah. Slams down the fierce monkey, protects his Ragnaros, and where does the fireball go? It goes on to the 1/1.
1/1 taking 8 damage. Well done, Silverhand Recruit.
Yeah, he was there just to take the fireball to the face and protect his Lord and Commander, Tyrion 4th ring.
And look at the top deck of MaDe. He picked up the Pyromancer for a full board clear here.
Yeah, you could do the full board clear, and I believe that is gonna happen. Yeah, MaDe is gonna play the Wild Pyromancer and Equality, and then next turn he has a great play with Nazad. Just to get that Tyrion 4th ring back onto the board. And what does Fireflam have left? He has another Berserker, or
Varian maybe.
Varian maybe, could be a play.
Varian is pretty good. And Blood to Ichor is not doing it here, but he can Blood to Ichor his Blood of Brave. But it looks pretty good for MaDe, because even if Enzot is only bringing back the Tyrion, it's still really strong, because Tyrion is normally 8 mana, so and Enzot is 10. Nazot, by the way. Then you have like for 2 mana 5/7 on the board, so that's still pretty good. We're gonna see what Fireflam is gonna do here. It's probably going for the Blood of Brave, Blood to Ichor on it, play the Battle Rage afterwards, draw 2 extra cards.
But he's drawing pretty hard through his deck. He has 6 cards left and 10 into the deck of the Paladin, so 6 cards left. And one of those is going to be that Throttling Berserker. And what else? What else?
He's going for a Battle Rage for 1. I don't really get why you would do that. Why wouldn't you just Battle Rage for 2? He's removing the 1/1 so the Edgebringer cannot kill off the Blood of Brave, but I think firevlam is already thinking, yeah, this is one of those games I'm never gonna win again.
No, so we see the Rag coming down to the board.
YOLO Rag.
Yeah, and if it hits the Blood of Brave, he's gonna be pretty happy because he takes full control of the game. And yeah, it's pretty difficult for firevlam to win this one. But there's Varian.
That was the card firevlam was looking for.
But look at the hand of MaDe. He has the Forbidden Healing. He has the Elder Peacekeeper, the Humility. It's gonna be pretty rough.
But firevlam is almost out of cards. He only has 1 card left in the deck. So if MaDe can deal with everything what's on the board now, firevlam is gonna lose on fatigue. As you can see in MaDe's hand, he has like all the answers for the board. There's the Enzold, bringing back the Ethereum, and now the Rag hits the face, and that sets up for Lido for next turn. I don't think firevlam is gonna come back from this.
Oh, he can play the Frothing Berserker and the Blood to Ichor onto the shield, the Divine Shield. No, he decides that this is the end of the game. He's gonna try again in another match. It's 2 versus 1 for MaDe.
Yeah, and as we said before the game was starting, the Paladin is such a counter against the Temple Warrior and the Shaman, because so much healing, so much board control, so much removal, and in the end game they will just slam the Zod and win the game of that.
So MaDe has his Shaman left. He has to win with this deck, and he can play against the Temple Warrior or against the very aggressive Shaman of firevlams. The question is, are we going to see a mirror matchup, or are we going to see the Warrior versus the Shaman? It probably will not be the last time we see a Warrior and a Shaman being played tonight.
No, definitely not. It's 2 of the most popular decks at the moment. I still think it's 2 of the best decks at the moment, especially Shaman is, with all the new cards they got. But we will see what MaDe is going to do. Normally, if Shaman gets 2 chances to win a game, it's probably going to happen though.
Yeah, so Shaman gets 2 chances. Let's see if it's an aggro Shaman or it's a totem Shaman for MaDe. So, because if he has a totem Shaman, it's going to be pretty hard against the Temple Warrior to keeping that board control. But if he gets the board control, he can close out that game. But it's going to be pretty rough for MaDe if he has the totem Shaman, and I believe he does. So let's see.
Yeah, hopefully for MaDe he can deal with all the aggression firevlam is going to bring with his Shaman. But the good thing about Totem Shaman is if they can play really cheap 5/5 towns for 2 or 3 mana. But all we were saying doesn't do anything because we're playing against Warrior against Shaman, so no mirror match for now.
Yeah, and we see that Lightning Storm in the hand of MaDe, and that tells us that it's going to be more of a mid-range Shaman than instead of an aggressive one. And it's against the Temple Warrior, and we have seen all the cards of firevlam last match, and that's also MaDe having seen all the cards, so he knows exactly what is in the deck of firevlam, and that's also a thing if you have this best of 5, and when you have the possibility to see the full deck of your opponent, that can be an advantage. So we see here the Tunnel Trog being drawn for MaDe. He's going to play it, of course, because next turn he can play the Totem Golem to buff his Tunnel Trog. The question is firevlam going to coin out the Fury War Axe? And he probably will.
Yeah, he will definitely will. Even though he has a bunch of 3-drops in hand, you're thinking about, yeah, then I can curve up pretty well, coining out a 3-drop on turn 2. But you cannot leave that Tunnel Trog on. You're just going out the War Axe, kill off that Tunnel Trog, and see what's gonna happen from that. You can even go for, if he goes for the Totem Golem next turn, you can just trade in the War Axe again and execute it.
But firevlam doesn't know what kind of Shaman this is, and if he plays Eternal Sentinel, he will know, or even the Thing from Below. Then firevlam will know, oh, this is a Totem Shaman. But now it looks like a very aggressive Shaman to him, so he doesn't know how to approach his deck yet, and maybe he wants to try and figure out a little bit more before he goes full on with those executes. You don't want to waste them into Totem Shaman like you would into aggressive Shaman. So
yeah, that's the good thing for MaDe now. He already knows every single card of Fireflam, and Fireflam is still guessing what's gonna come. So Fireflam has to play a little bit more passive than he would do if he knows what's gonna come. But what will MaDe do? Yeah, he will just Totem here, and that's a really important thing. That if you play the Totem Shaman like this with the thing from below, it's really important to use your hero power as much as possible, because in 2-3 turns your thing from below will only be 2 or 1 mana. And if you get another one, you can make such a tempo swing by playing them.
And there we see the Ravaging Ghoul and the Fury War Axe removing that Totem Golem. And now it's the question, do you want to play a thing from below Feral Spirits? It's the next turn you can play Feral Spirits and the Eternal Sentinel to just remove all the overload that's coming down.
Yeah, as Shaman it's really important to calculate your overload crystals. So MaDe is making a plan for 3 turns now. He's like, okay, what if I play Feral Spirits? What can I do next turn, right? But if he plays the thing from below on curve, as you say, you can play Feral Spirits next turn and remove the overload with the Eternal Sentinel instantly. And also the thing from below contests the board way better than the Feral Spirits, because if you play Feral Spirits into the Ghoul will just trade away those Feral Spirits. We're gonna see what Fireflam is gonna do here. There's multiple options. You can choose to go for like War Axe Execute or play a Taunt Execute. Too bad he doesn't have the Ghoul anymore. If he had Ghoul on this turn, he could just play Ghoul and execute the thing from below, but maybe just go for Frothing Berserker, trade in, play the Execute here, and see what's gonna happen.
Yeah, try to get that Frothing Berserker as big as possible and to contest the board a little bit, because you don't. He knows right now that it's a Totem Shaman, and he definitely doesn't want to give the board to MaDe, because if he gets the board, it's gonna get out of control pretty fast. He probably has a Bloodlust, which is in this deck. Maybe has a Thunderbuff Valiant. We haven't seen those cards, so we don't know for sure if they are in the deck. But there is the Flame Breather Faceless. Wow.
Wow, that's actually a huge pickup. You can play that. Play next turn the Eternal Sentinel. But what you also can do is, like, if you go for Feral Spirits Eternal Sentinel now, you have like 4 minions on the board. And because you're not overloaded because of the Sentinel, next turn you can go for the 7/7 with the totem, with the Flame Tongue Totem, and Flame Tongue Totem with 4 minions on the board is so huge.
Yeah, it's way more mana efficient this way, and let's see how Fireflam is gonna deal with this massive board of MaDe. He draws into a Blood to Ichor, and well, that would be a great top deck if the Faces was being played. Then the Blood to Ichor and then the Execute, that would be a massive play. So maybe he keeps that in hand.
Yeah, MaDe is a little bit scared, I guess, for the Execute. He didn't see any Execute yet, but maybe he's thinking, I don't think he has Execute, because Fireflam traded his minion and the weapon into the 5/5. So maybe MaDe is thinking, he doesn't have the Execute here because he wasted so many for the 5/5.
I don't believe that this is a Totem Shaman. This could also be the Shaman with the 2 Fire Elementals in it. So not as aggressive as the Aggro Shaman, but more mid-range. I believe that this is not that kind of deck because of the Faceless being in it.
Yeah, I saw the deck list, and MaDe is definitely playing the Fire Elementals. So that's pretty strong, because you have a little bit more threats, and the Temple Warrior only has 2 Execute. So if you can put out your threats, it's gonna be pretty hard for Temple Warrior to remove all those big minions. But Fireflam is still in this. He didn't take that many damage, and he has still some removal in hand. But this is a huge turn though.
Yeah, but that Blood to Ichor, it's still in the hand of Fireflam, and it can be used together with Execute to remove that 9/7. It's not a 7/7, it's not a 9/7 because of the Flame Tongue. There's a lot of pressure on the board, but there is enough ways for Fireflam to deal with this one.
Yeah, 4 mana 9/7. What was Riot thinking when they making this card? But we're gonna see how fireflame is gonna deal with this. Probably it's gonna be the Blood Striker into the execute. Maybe even playing Froling Berserker next to that to buff that a little. But fireflame doesn't have any whirlwind effects, and that's pretty bad because you have that acolyte, you have that execute, you have that battle rage. So if you can draw a whirlwind, you can maybe clear everything and then go for a huge battle rage. And there's the fire elemental, but he's overloaded, so he cannot play it.
Yeah, but if he plays the Fuel Spirit right now and uses his hero power, he can next turn.
Yes.
But he then can play the Hex. So the question is, how out of control can this Frothing Berserker get? But he can also trade, of course, his Totem and his minion into the Frothing Berserker.
Yeah, and that's why Flametongue Totem is so strong. Because it works the same as Direwolf. If you suicide your minion, your minions will replace one spot to the left or one spot to the right, and they will get buffed after the suicide. So you can get so much value out of one card.
Right, there's Cairn on the board. It's a great target for Hex.
Yes.
Do you get Cairn when it's when Cairn comes to the board and you play Nazad? Do you get Cairn back when it gets Hex? No, right?
No. It has to die. So it's when it's got hexed or something like that. But MaDe decides to smork here.
Yeah, he decides it's time to go for the face. That Cairn is not giving enough reason to trade into anything. And with this big board, there's it's a game for MaDe to win. And let's see what fireflam can do to save his this first week, his game life, to say.
Yeah, fireflam picked up the perfect card he was looking for. He was looking for that whirlwind, so he could whirlwind, execute, kill that 1/1. So this is the comeback for fireflam, I guess.
Yeah, you can play the Ravaging Ghoul and execute on the Fire Elemental, and but maybe first remove one of the wolves, because otherwise then the Flametongue Totem is next to it. So you first have to hit the Cairn into one of the wolves.
Yeah, we're gonna see what's gonna happen here. But he didn't decide to play the Acolyte first. I think he wanted to Battle Rage instead of playing the Acolyte, because he still has 2 mana left to armor up. Yeah, I think that's also pretty important.
He can also go into the right wolf, that's also fine. And he draws into Gromage, which is a pretty big draw. But we see there the Hex. And
yeah, you have to think about when you play Hex, is that Hex is a taunt minion. So you have to attack first and then play Hex. You don't... What you sometimes see is that people play Hex and then want to attack phase and then like, oh, it's a taunt.
I messed up. Yeah, there we see the 3/1 with Divine Shield, and what I was saying earlier today, that if you play the Argent Squire and the Flametongue Totem, it's a great opening in this Shaman deck. But what can fireflam do to remove this board? There's not that much damage, but it's enough to... well, it's not enough to get lethal, because there's still that frog on the board.
Yeah. I don't think you play Whirlwind here, because that Taunt Totem is so huge for MaDe, because he cannot play Gromage now, trade into the 4/2 and then kill off the Flametongue Totem. The Taunt Totem is blocking everything now. So maybe fireflam has to go for like an Acolyte of Pain Whirlwind turn, and then Battle Rage and trade for some good cards.
Yeah, but if you Whirlwind, you kill your taunt, and you don't want to do that, because then you get vulnerable to a lethal move of MaDe, because there is the Rockbiter.
And is this lethal? I don't think it is. That frog is saving fireflam from dying here.
Yeah, and if he would have whirlwinded it, this would be the game. So a good choice of fireflam to not go for that whirlwind, but go for that Gromage. It was his only play to make sure that he didn't die to anything like a Rockbiter. But still, that could have been drawn a Doomhammer, and that would have been game. So.
Yeah, let's see what's gonna happen. I think MaDe just totems up here. Hex is the... what he can do is like trade the frog away, play Rockbiter, kill the 3/3 and Hex the Gromage and play a totem. Then he has two minions on the board that can deal a lot of damage, and he clears the entire board. So I think that's the play. When that 3/1 totem is pretty bad for me because it's vulnerable against whirlwind effects.
Yeah, so we're probably gonna see the Argent Squire running into the Frog Prince that will not turn into a Prince, and then the Rock Biter weapon hitting the Ravaging Ghoul, and another Frog Prince will turn up on the board, and the question is, will it turn into a Prince? Well, it was the Prince for Fireflam because it saved his life.
Yeah.
You could say it's a little bit of a Frog Prince.
Oh, and there is the slam that can remove the Divine Shield from the Argent Squire, and then Whirlwind will do a lot of work here. Acolyte, slam, Whirlwind, getting some new cards in.
But he even has the Battle Rage to draw even more, so.
And another slam guarantees the full board clear here. Whirlwind drawing some more cards. But do you clear the totem? I think you do. You don't want to leave it up for a buff. And a taunt, Monkey.
Yeah, well, you can use the slam later on, because there are no charged minions, I believe, on Mate. So if you want to use it, you can do it later on. So he chooses to play the Monkey and not use that slam. So there's a Tunnel Truck, and that's a better target for that slam.
Yeah, another card May was looking for. May was looking for his big guys, the 7/7s, the Fire Elementals, maybe even the Doomhammer. But he finds the Tunnel Truck, and that's doing nothing here. And I think Fireflam turned the game around. Even though he was like on 5 HP, the Frog saved his life, and now he's making the comeback.
Yeah, so there's even Ariatu Weaponsmith will give him a weapon to clear out the board, and he can use that weapon to remove that Flame Tongue Totem pretty efficiently, and then use his other cards to remove the other minions of Maid, and even draw a card from that 1/1 Totem. So yeah, this is going to be pretty okay for Fireflam, who has 11 cards left in his deck. And I believe we have a Varian left, we have an Arcanite Reaper left that is, again, in the back end of his deck. So
another 3-card draws from Fireflam, and there are more taunts and the rack. Do you rack here? And pressure some damage here? Nah, Fireflam is gonna play it safe. He's going for the taunts, armoring up, and make sure Mate cannot draw anything that's gonna kill Fireflam. Even the Lava Burst was not even in the Mate's deck, but it's not gonna kill him now.
So he doesn't want to draw a card because he's pretty far into his deck already. He has enough cards in hand, and there is a thing from below. It's a 5/5, and that's gonna be a pretty awkward. Well, no, you have the slam in hand. It's pretty easy.
Oh,
to
there's the
remove.
Varian.
Wow.
Do you play it?
No, you go for the slam and the monkey into
the rack.
Yeah.
I think Mate cannot win this anymore. He's so far behind now, and Fireflam is starting picking up his big guys, the Ragnaros, the Varian, the Korkron. I think the Concede is coming in for Mate now. Does he have a way? Ooh, the Doomhammer.
I don't think he did. He draw 2 Rock Biters. I believe he did.
Ancestral Knowledge into double Rock Biter.
No, he has already played 1 Rock Biter, so.
Never lucky.
Yeah, Fireflam can stabilize with his hero power if he likes to play it really safe, and I believe that Mate is thinking about his options, his outs, just how to win this game. And there are no Rock Biters left. There are no Rock Biters left. There are no big. There's the faceless. No, he decides that this is not the game. He's going to try again with the Shaman against the other Shaman of Fireflam.
And we get another deciding match. And it's gonna be the Shaman Mirror.
It's gonna be a pretty late evening, everybody, so make sure that you get enough drinks and enough food, because it's gonna be pretty late.
Yeah, it's the another deciding final match. Those matches are always a little bit more. You always have a little bit more tension. Then it's so hard. It's like, it's gonna be a Shaman Mirror, and in your head you're like, Please, please give me that gold hand. Give me that tunnel stroke on turn 1. Please give it to me for once, Blizzard.
But because it's an aggro matchup, it's maybe it's a fast game. We can do it in 10 minutes, and then we're only a half an hour behind on schedule.
Yes, but most of the times, if you see a Shaman mirror, it's not like that they go face a lot. You win on board control. So what they are trying to do is make really good value trades with the Pharaoh Spirits, with the Totem Golem, and win the game from that. So normally it's not like smork, and hope you are the first one that puts your opponent on 0 health.
We're gonna see how they're gonna play it, how MaDe and firevlam are gonna battle it out. It's Shaman versus Shaman. It's the final game of this match, and the winner becomes, well, takes his first win into the ESL Benelux Championship.
Yes. I'm really curious about who's favorite in this matchup. I played a lot of Shaman myself, but the Totem version, and I never queued into such an aggro version of firevlam, so I have literally no clue what's gonna happen now.
We see a Lightning Storm in the hand of MaDe. He probably wants to keep that for removing the board of firevlam and a Totem Golem, but and even the thing from below, just to make sure that the pressure that will be coming from firevlam will be stopped by that thing.
Yeah, I think if firevlam can take the early game and pressure MaDe a lot, MaDe doesn't play any heals or something. So if firevlam can do a lot of damage, he can burst him down with the lava bursts and the lightning bolts. But on the other hand, MaDe is playing a lot of big guys, the big town minions, the flame tongue totems to get some really high value out of his minions, and the fire elemental, of course, to kill one of those. Maybe a feral spirit or a tunnel troll. So we will see what's gonna happen here.
Yeah, we see MaDe taking initiative against firevlam, and like I said earlier today, firevlam doesn't like if his opponents take the initiative, so he's the more aggressive player. And well, MaDe has taken the initiative with the coin, but the question is what firevlam can do. He has the more aggressive deck. He has the Lava Shock and the Totem Golem in hand, and I guess he's gonna play his own Totem Golem into this one of MaDe, and there he goes.
Yeah, it's pretty nice. Because MaDe is overloaded, he cannot play anything here, so I think he just go face here and hope for firevlam don't have a play on turn 3 anyway. But it's pretty awkward for MaDe. Maybe it was not good for him to waste the coin there. And he's deciding to go face. He had no other option. Ooh, and there's the tunnel trog. So what he can do here is like Lava Shock the Totem Golem, trade into it, and play the tunnel trog. And next turn he has the lightning bolt or the lava burst to boost the tunnel trog.
Yeah, and to remove whatever comes on that board, and that's probably going to be... well, it's not going to be the Tusker Totemic. Oh, it is going to be the Tusker Totemic, probably. So he has some great removal options.
Yeah, definitely. You can also go for a Lightning Storm, though, if he goes for Tunnel Trog, but then you have to go for 50-50 on the Tunnel Trog. Because it can roll 3 or 2, and that's what's pretty annoying about the Shaman class. They're like... deal 2 or 3 damage to a minion. It can be so annoying if you roll all 2s.
Alright, so the question is what firevlam is going to do. He's thinking about it. He is going to do that Lava Shock into the Tunnel Truck like he said before, and he's going to trade his own minion. Well, he's not going to trade because it still stays on the board, and he is in control again. The position firevlam wants to be in.
Yeah, and now MaDe has to play his Tusker Totemic and pray for that Totem Golem to make a tempo swing.
And he does get one.
Wow.
So RNGesus is in favor of MaDe, or should we say Yoxeron, because Yoxeron is the father of RNGesus, as you might have known.
Is that for real?
Nobody told you that?
No.
Yoxeron
told you that?
Yoxeron is the father of RNGesus. So RNGesus prays even to Yoxeron.
Maybe I should play Yoxeron the rest of my life now.
I don't know if we're gonna see any Yoxeron decks tonight. I hope we do. I hope we see some surprising decks, because the decks that we have seen up until this time are pretty straightforward. You have seen them during the whole weekend of the preliminaries last weekend. And now let's see, yeah, there are some pretty nice removal options for...
Fireflam can do like Lava Burst, play Rock Biter, trade the Discard. Ooh, but he decides to use the Lightning Bolt, and I don't really agree with that play, because now he's overloaded for 3, so Fireflam cannot use the Lava Burst next turn. And if he paid attention, he knew that Mate already played 2 totems, so Thing from Below is coming out on turn 4. So that's a slight mistake by Fireflam. If he went for the Rock Biter instead of the Lightning Bolt, he could have played Lava Burst on the Thing from Below the turn after.
Yeah, that was a good possibility. But unfortunately, that Totem Golem came out of that Tusker Totemic. Maybe he's hoping for a draw into that Doomhammer, and then on turn 6, when his overload is gone, that he can use his Rockbiter and his Doomhammer to slam 10 in the face of Made and then win the game, because he has 7 on board, and with 7 and 17, it's enough. It's 24.
Well, Mate could have done multiple things. The Thing from Below, but he was also thinking about Lightning Storm, but it's a little bit... Oh, wow, and that's a huge pickup by Fireflam. So now he can make a good trade with that Totem Golem on the Thing from Below and pressure 6 damage to the face, and Mate is getting really low like this.
Yeah, and if Fireflam top decks that Doomhammer next turn, it's gonna be insane.
Yeah, I think it's a little bit justice, that top deck, because of the Totem going out of the discard there.
Well, we already saw the top deck of Lord Girexis in the earlier games of Mate, so Mate has been pretty lucky. So the question is, well, and in the other Shaman game, there was a pretty big opening for Fireflam, so they both have been lucky during this this game.
I think you just Totem here, pray for that spell damage totem, then play Lightning Storm. And if you don't roll the spell damage totem, I still think it's your only play here. You have a pretty big card advantage, so if you roll 3 on the Tunnel Trope, you're so far ahead on cards that you maybe can make a tempo swing from that on.
Yeah, we also see the Master of Evolution in the hand of Made. How does that card fit into this deck?
Which one? Sorry?
The Master of Evolution.
I had some discussions about this card in this deck, because all your drops are already the strongest cards of that mana, like the Totem Golem, the Tunnel Troll. You don't want to Master of Evolution those cards, because they already are the strongest cards for that mana.
Wow, and he gets another good high roll. Yeah, he removes the whole board, and now it's pretty rough for Fireflam. But if he draws into that Doomhammer, he can still win this game.
Yeah, and now Fireflam is a really awkward hand. He has two damage spells that does nothing, because Mate has nothing on the board, and he picks up the Abusive Sergeant, and that's not a card you want to play into a Divine Shield Argent Squire. So there's the Totemic Call. That's the only thing Fireflam can do, actually.
Yeah, you want to keep that Lava Burst in your hand to make sure that he doesn't heal up or do anything, and just have that reach, that burst at the end of the game. But next turn he can use that Abusive Sergeant on that Totem and get some extra damage in. And there's the Eternal Sentinel, another card new in this expansion, and that can make sure that that Ancestral Knowledge that is being used right now and the Overload is being removed.
And how it looks like now is that Mate completely took over the game by that double 3 roll on those minions. And thus Fireflam has a way. He needs that Doom. He needs the Doomhammer. That's the only way you can win this. So I think this is so bad for Fireflam. If you go for the Lava Burst and Lightning Bolt to face, Doomhammer is not even gonna save you.
No, so it's a pretty rough decision. If you want to go for that Lightning Bolt and Lightning Bolt that Flame Tongue Totem to make sure that you reduce the damage incoming from Mate, that's an option. Just reduce the damage coming in, but you also want to keep that Lightning Bolt to kill your opponent. And the question is he going to use the Lightning Bolt, or is he going to keep it in hand? Because probably in 2 turns he could win if he draws into the Doomhammer, but are you counting on the Doomhammer? That's the question.
How the game looks like now, firevlam must think, okay, the only thing I can do now here is wait for the Doomhammer. Maybe you just even play the Abusive Sergeant to absorb like 3 or 5 damage.
Well, there's the Doomhammer.
Yeah, and while firevlam is waiting for the Doomhammer, may draw the second one. And now he can go for the Tunnel Troll Fire Elemental, I guess. And he decides to go for Doomhammer instead of the Fire Elemental.
It gives him more damage next turn, more pressure on the board, and you can use it to clear the totem. Yes. So pretty efficient play, and now we see 4, 7, 12. We see just not enough damage. Yeah, enough damage with the Fire Elemental next turn. So there's lethal on the board for MaDe, and no lethal on the board for firevlam, and he has to worry about something being in the hand, something of 3 damage in the hand of MaDe.
Yeah, and now firevlam has to think about, okay, now I cannot keep all my burn spells anymore. I have to use them now. But the problem about this is that when he did it last turn, the lightning bolt or the flame tongue totem or something, he took like 4 damage less than he did now. And now he has to do it anyway, because he was not drawing the Doomhammer. So maybe he should have gone for it last game. And now he has to go for Lightning Bolt on Flame Tongue, maybe even Lava Burst, the Tunnel Troll, and then play the 7/7. The good thing about that is that MaDe doesn't have enough damage on the board to kill off that 7/7 if he plays the Lightning Bolt and the Lava Burst. Or maybe he uses even the Rock Biter to clear and save the Lava Burst, yeah, and taunt up and play Totem.
So no more lethal for MaDe. A lot of damage reduction being a lot of damage reduction from firevlam, and there's the own faceless of MaDe, but he's going to trade with his Fire Elemental into that 7/7,
yes,
and keep swinging that Doomhammer.
And as you can see, MaDe keeps clearing that totems, because the way you're winning in the Shaman Mirror is keep board control. Keep the board empty from your opponent, because they have that Flame Tongue totem, they have those Abusive Sergeants, so you don't want to give him a totem and run into one of those buff cards. Flame Juggler, does it hit? Nope.
Is he going to go for that Abusive? Yeah.
I think he has to. firevlam must be so pissed off now, losing all the RNG, and there is a Lightning Storm top deck by MaDe that can clear the entire board of firevlam again.
And then he can slam down that faceless, and that probably will be game, because I don't believe that firevlam is playing any Hex. So it looks like MaDe has the game in the bag, but you never know what top deck is gonna come down.
Deathwing?
Deathwing?
I think Deathwing is coming out now for firevlam as a special tech in the Shaman Mirror.
It would be awesome to see a Deathwing. But 10 health for firevlam. What can he draw into to win the game, or is this it?
And there we go.
The Feral Spirits to make the game last a little bit longer and to keep digging for other options.
It looks a little bit like Deathwing, right?
A little bit. Just a little bit. It looks like 2 Deathwings.
Yeah, there goes a full board clear. Even playing Master Evolution on the totem, I guess.
Yeah. Master of Evolution coming down.
And the 1/1. Yes. What did he get? He gets a 2/1. 1 damage more.
So another chance for firevlam to stay in the game. He draws a Rock Biter weapon, and that's it.
That's game.
That's game. He's just toteming up, hoping for a taunt, but nothing is happening. He says, well played. This was the game. Lowland Lights MaDe takes the game against AT firevlam, and we're heading into game number 3.
Really well played by MaDe.